Never take in things to the shop more than you need to, especially when you're getting like stuff like tires done. I tried to take everything off, but I forgot about taking the sprocket assembly off. I picked up the wheels. I did not notice that the sprocket was missing, and I have to wait till Tuesday till I can pick up the sprocket assembly to finish putting the rear end back together. I can't do the front until I do the forks, and I don't really want to do the forks until I have the back together so I can weigh it down. So I will attempt to do the valve clearances. This bike, you have to drain all the coolant to take the valve cover off because of the way they routed the coolant lines through the valve cover. So that's fun. Oh, it's not the dirtiest coolant I've seen. Alright, see what we can do about getting this valve cover off. And there's a vacuum line going down to the carb. The top of the spark plug looks decently rusty, so it's safe to say they're old. As much other stuff is original on this bike. I wouldn't be surprised if the spark plugs are also the originals from '07. Oh, as usual, couldn't find my 10mm in 1/4 inch, so I found an adapter for the 3/8. Whew, that's tight. I don't know if that was really old grease or what. Can't get the valve cover off because it's hitting everything. It's hitting the frame, it's hitting the gas tank mounts, it's hitting all these wires, cables, the throttle cables. So I got the choke cable off, and I'm taking the throttle cables off. I had to loosen the actual adjustment nuts, even though that can be a little bit more work sometimes. On this particular carb, the throttle cable mounts, the way it's all set up in there, it's really annoying to get those on and off without messing up the adjustment. So I'm just gonna readjust them later. One free. Man, the worst part is I literally just did this. If I had had the foresight to do the valve clearances while the carburetor was off the bike, saved a lot of headache. But that doesn't look bad at all. And thankfully I don't think we damaged the seal at all going all the way around. I'll lubricate that before we put it back on. That one seems kind of tight. I don't actually want it to start, I just want to see if we get oil flinging everywhere. That's actually looking a little dry. I don't see any splashing. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of wear on that. There's no pressure on that, so I can check the clearance. So I guess I'll show this real quick. I've got a spreadsheet. I'm tracking just all the prices of everything for the whole project. And I wrote down the valve clearances. But for the intake side, between 5 and 7 thousandths and 7 and 9 thousandths on the exhaust side. So let me get my shims. Ooh, those are tight. Yeah, let's just... Nice. We can try the 4 thousandths. That squeezes in easily. 6 thou. Oh, that seems almost exact on that one. I don't know, 6.5, maybe 7. That side seems slightly looser. Ooh, 8 seems to slide in. No, I have to really jam it in. Yeah, same there. So I think these are right about 7. That was a little tight. So yeah, I think these two are good. It's like right at 6.5. 6.5. So I can leave it at that. See what we're at on the exhaust side. So that's a 7 thou on the exhaust over here, and that was too tight. Whew, those are really freaking tight. And my socket's too fat for that. Oh. Let me see if I can get these oil passages off. And too fat to grab the bottom. Oh, that wasn't that bad. Just grab the top of the pipe. There we go. There. Oh yeah, there's a rubber O-ring on there. They don't look too flat. And they live somewhat doused in oil, I guess, so. This should be significantly easier. Oh! Shit. Some super tight valves. Or adjustment nuts. I like to take the larger limit. So we're going 9 thou. Just tighten it down onto the 9 thou. Then once it stops, instead of backing it off to where there's, just a little bit of drag, I just kind of leave it tight. Decent amount of drag on that one. You can see I kind of left a mark on the shim, which is nice. So it might be a little too tight. I think we're like right at 7, which is actually still a little too tight. Check the 8 thou. That's those two. These two are good. I'll do the other 4 off camera. Spare you the trouble. All the exhaust side, they were a little too tight. So I've got these loosened up to about 9 thou all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the oil passages. I've got some RTV in the little grooves, or the corners, just a little bit around the loop, just because it seemed like that's what was already there. Let's go ahead and just shove this thing back on and be done with the valve cover. I cleaned up the little O-rings. The O-rings seem fine, they're not cracked or anything, but there's just a bunch of dirt. Ooh, that's a little crunchy. So while I've got, you know, these breather hoses and coolant lines off, I think it'll be the easiest time to get to the spark plugs. $18. There it goes. Whew. Oh, the threads are looking pretty rough, but the actual tip doesn't look all that bad. Oh yeah, what brand were these? Some cheapo auto lights. The other side had a pretty obvious crush washer on it. This side doesn't have it. Yeah, I think I can see the crush washer stuck down in there. And going fishing. That's what we got. Got it all buttoned back up. Got the throttle cables obnoxiously back on. Still got plenty of oil, which I think it's slightly leaning too far forward, but it shouldn't be too bad. So let's go ahead and fire it up, see if we can actually make some oil pressure. Can't run it too long since I didn't put any more coolant in it yet, but it should be fine. Oil lights on. Choke. Oh, I gotta put the Jeep battery on it. All right, let's see how it does. This time, and look at that, oil light finally turned off. Sweet. Well, that's one major problem alleviated, or potential problem. Ooh, good. Oil level's a little low now. Let the oil settle for a sec. The oil's coming back up a little bit, but I'm still basically at the minimum. Alright, so let's go for, I don't know, let's go for an easy win. This clutch cable should be pretty easy fix real quick. I think that's 12. Yeah. There's a decent amount of rust on the cable. And again, we're down to the last 3 strands, it looks like. So we'll note where it's routed. So we're going under the gauge cluster support, but over between the radiator on the outside of the frame, right behind the coil. There's the Motion Pro part number I got. I think on this one you have to take the nut all the way off and squeeze just the wire through that. And the old one, I probably should put it through this first. The old one seemed like it was out all the way. But this one, this cable might be a little different, so it seems like it's pushing the clutch as opposed to kind of holding it.
Here's a 3D print that I was teasing at the end of the last episode. Just a little keychain that I was designing to put on my key for the 1982 Supra. I think this is just awesome looking. The organic supports in Prusa.